fire department here, there's no police department, there's nothing else but each other.
Get on that line! Get on! Get on! Hee-ho! Hee-ho!
And initially, the new cadets are pretty uptight and they're trying to get into the swing of things.
Hee-ho! Hee-ho! Let fall!
Oh, that's so cool. Nice.
She learned to walk here. She walks better here than she does other places.
It's been life-changing. Incredibly life-changing.
And it is certainly one of the most majestic ships that you will see out here today. That is the Coast Guard marked Eagle, which is a pretty incredible, impressive presence out there in Casco Bay, isn't it, John?
It's an amazing ship, and it's really very interesting that she's plays such an important part in our maritime heritage in general.
Everybody in Portland is getting a fantastic view right now. In fact, the Fritha is also making its way right into Portland Harbor, and that's where we find CBS 13's Lexi O'Connor, who is live along the Main State Pier, right next to it, I guess, Lexi.
Now, the Fritha will be docking here at the main wharf in just moments once they get down this way. And then there's also going to be some boats docking at the Main State Pier, which is just behind me. You can see people are lined up. They're ready to see the parade of sail, which should be arriving down here any moment now.
We just saw the Oliver Hazard Perry in that just clip right there. She's cruising right along. She's from Newport, and the Fritha, as Lexi mentioned, from Fairhaven, New Bedford area. They have a heck of a maritime history in that area, of course, being the whaling capital of the world at one point. Yeah, we have a treat here today, I think, Kim and John.
Absolutely, and I love that we get to show people down below. There's nothing more beautiful.
I've got to jump in here and say that is the most beautiful thing I've seen in my life.
Well,
the Oliver Hazard Perry schooning along, just tearing it up.
Yeah.
Brand new ship, beautiful.
I'm not sure if we're going to take that shot, but we promise you we will show it to you.
There
we
she
go.
is.
There you can see the Oliver Hazard Perry just going past Portland Headlight, and that is a beauty, and we'll show you more of that in just a moment. But we want to talk right now about a big and tall piece of American maritime history. There it is, the Oliver Hazard Perry, beautiful. The Coast Guard Eagle. Now, some of our reporters have had quite an adventure just getting on board their ships today. One of them is CBS 13's John Chrysos. John, we're so glad you made it on board the Eagle, and you can join us now live.
Yeah, you guys, that's exactly right. It was quite an adventure just to get out here. We took a small boat, the Challenger 2, out here. Then we had to make a bit of a transfer while we were in some rough and pretty choppy waters. We were a bit wet, but we have since dried out. And I want to show you that the Coast Guard cadets right now are taking down a sail. If you look about halfway down the ship, they just took down one of the sails because of the wind. Apparently, we were going a bit too fast, going beyond parade speed. So they took down one of those sails. In case you're wondering why that sail came down, that is why we were just going too fast, but now we are back at the parade speed. And I want to also show you the cadets who are steering us over here, because this is quite the sight to see. They are making sure that we are staying on track and going the path that we are supposed to go. And all of this is pretty fascinating because we are getting just a bit of a taste of what the men and women on board Eagle deal with every day. It is Coast Guard cadets that are pretty much in charge of everything that's happening right now, about 120 of them, and they are learning on here because this ship is also a classroom. The Coast Guard calls this America's ship.
Get on that line! Get on! Get on!
It's the largest tall ship flying the Stars and Stripes. This 1936 cutter was a training vessel for German naval cadets. That's before it was taken as a war prize by the United States after World War II. Now it's a sailing classroom for cadets and instructors from the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. And you are looking at live pictures right now across the shore from where we are of the ship that we are sailing in on right now. A pretty spectacular experience here. And if you would like to come on board, you can have that experience Sunday and Monday from 10 to 7. Also interesting to note that this ship will be on a new postage stamp that is set to be released next week. And before we go, you may be hearing some explosion sounding noises throughout the afternoon. Some of them are coming from right up here, from these small cannons that are shooting blanks up there. The team up there will be setting those off. They have a couple ceremonially here throughout this experience here, this tall ships parade of sail.
There's something about sailors and cannons. You can see those young guys. We're getting ready to load that. Bowdoin has one like it, and a lot of the others do. They all
love
like
that
to
part.
fire cannons.
That's terrific.
I think we're all masters and commanders.
All right, well, you're taking a live look now at the Lynx, and coming up, we're going to take you on board. We'll tell you about the troubled waters this ship ran into on its historic launch, as our coverage of the Parade of Sail 2015 continues right after this.
You're watching live coverage of Portland's Parade of Sail 2015 on CBS 13.
And you are looking live now at El Galeon. That is an exact replica of a Spanish ship from the 16th century, used mostly for exploring the New World. So think about the history of El Galeon. The ship is almost identical to the original ship from 500 years ago, all the way down to the same exact type of wood. It is just so cool. CBS 13's Marissa Bodner has more on this historic ship for us. Marissa?
Well, Kim, you said it. It is just a cool ship. It's also a really big piece of history. The story of El Galeon really starts in Spain back in the 16th century. Now, galleons were originally used as warships and then later for exploration and trade because they have more cargo capacity, defense capabilities, and better maneuverability. These ships formed what was then called the Fleet of the Indies. For 3 centuries, they crossed the Atlantic Ocean. They sailed the Caribbean, down all the way to the Pacific, as well as up and down the American coast. And another fun fact for you is that this ship was actually featured on a TV series called Crossbones, and that was about the pirate ship, the pirate Blackbeard. So Kim and Charlie, with that, I'll send it back to you. But as you said, a very cool, fascinating ship with a long, fascinating history.
Next in the lineup is the schooner Lynx, and that's a replica of an American ship that was built in 1812. And then the British actually captured the ship after this and used it as one of their own, which is, I think, very interesting. CBS 13's Maria Valvenas went aboard the Lynx in Rockport and shows us a little bit about the history of the Lynx.
We first became aware of the Project Lynx when the owner and naval architect Melbourne Smith approached us about the idea of him building a replica of a privateer that was active during the War of 1812.
The owner, Woods & Woods, wanted to recreate maritime history. 2 years of blood, sweat, and teamwork.
There are challenges every day, and that's what makes it interesting for us.
In July 2001, Lynx was ready to set sail, but because the ship was so large, the Marine's launching equipment actually couldn't hoist it into the water. So a special truck from Massachusetts was called in. It towed it right up over this hill, across the bridge, and down to this launch site where it entered the water. It was less than a quarter-of-a-mile trip, but it took nearly 8 hours and became the social event of the decade.
It was just fabulous. There were people lined up and all over, and they brought cameras and telescopes.
Just another of the amazing schooners that are passing through Casco Bay. Here's a look from Fort Gorges. As we've mentioned, we have some great vantage points today, and you can see the ships have made their way now closer to Portland Harbor. They've passed us at the Portland Headlight, and they are looking gorgeous, Charlie.
Yeah, I understand they'll be docked around 4 o'clock, then the main state pops gets going around 5 o'clock, and 7 o'clock, the shipyard concert gets going there. It's nice to see some of those boats coming in with at least some sail up there. The wind has been a little bit breezy at times. I think that's been a little bit of an issue, and John called it earlier. John Worth here called it earlier. He said, yeah, there's a little bit of a breeze here, and these ships are going to have a hard time slowing down as they come into Casco Bay.
It's interesting when you're on a sailing vessel and you're in a parade. Normally you like to race the other sailing vessel boat, and this one you've got to stay back behind. So you've got to use some good seamanship to slow the vessel down.
That's right. And it goes against instinct, of course, as well. So
it does.
It's challenging.
Perhaps you're heading out and about to the tall ships here throughout the weekend. This afternoon, we expect temps around 70 degrees. I included the chance for a thunderstorm, but I think that threat is greatest over the interior. Temps are starting to warm into the 70s. Any sun we see will destabilize that atmosphere. If you're looking for warmer temps, tall ships will be around, docked in Portland through Sunday and Monday. 80s will be common. In fact, Monday has a very good chance of being a very warm day and sort of an uncomfortable day with a chance for thunderstorms. Mid-80s will be common that day as well. But it's comfortable right now. We'll take it.
Make your way down to the water.
Yes.
Oh, Charlie, I think we're so lucky with this. We were worried about rain just yesterday, so it's great. Well, again, the Parade of Sail continues here in Portland. The boats are slowly making their way into Portland Harbor, where a lot of people are going to get to go on board in the next couple of days.
Yeah, the show is just beginning. The event organizers are right on. They said the boats will be docked up at 4 o'clock, and the show is just beginning with main pops at 5 and shipyard concert at 7.
It is a celebration here in Casco Bay, and we'll continue our live coverage in just a moment. You cannot complain about this incredible event today, and look how gorgeous that is right there. Now, 2 of the beautiful schooners that are in the parade today are based right here in Portland. We are so lucky. On any summer afternoon in Casco Bay, you can see these 2 beautiful schooners, the Wendamine and the Bagheera, both owned by Portland Schooner Company. Gorgeous. And I actually got to go on board one of them, the Bagheera. I've been watching these beauties out in the bay for years now, so it was a really special treat to go on board Bagheera for what turned out to be a perfect summer day.
The Bagheera carries an impressive pedigree. Built in East Boothbay in 1924 by naval architect John Alden, she is known as one of the most beautiful and seaworthy schooners in the world.
Well, exactly. We're extremely proud of the fact that this boat is built in Maine and designed by John Alden, and the craftsmanship that has gone into it, I think, is second to none. It's really, we're very proud of it.
All the way together.
Okay, hold that, hold that.
And boy, can she sail.
There are a few things you notice on board the Bagheera. One, the classic beauty of this wooden schooner. The other, this boat is fast. She was built to race.
What was it like to be on an old ship like that, just cruising through the water on a nice day with nothing but you and the sail and the crashing waves?
That's Bagheera.
There's Bagheera right there. Well, Charlie, it is so different, may I just say. I could not sail one of these classic wooden schooners for anything. Of course, on our sailboat, we have a nice winch, John, which helps us raise the sails.
We have students.
You have students to do that, and they had some pretty great deckhands, but it's work on a wooden boat. But I think that's the charm of it, and that's a lot of what the crew says they love about it in particular, is that you just don't get that experience in some of the more modern boats. And I wasn't kidding about that boat wanting to sail. We hit the wind and it just wanted to go. We didn't even have the sails up yet.
Really?
And she was ready.
She's very
it's like
fast.
a horse to a barn.
She's a super fast boat, and makes it a lot more fun if you're going fast.
Yeah, I think the passengers had a great day. Just a little bit of adventure, but stable enough to feel safe.
You're watching live coverage of Portland's Parade of Sail 2015 on CBS 13.
Even though we're protected here, we can tell the wind is picking up a little bit, which means for a great sail for the folks on board ships like the Picton Castle, and that's where we find CBS 13's Jana Barnello.
And they just put the sails up on the Picton Castle as well, just so we don't go into Portland Harbor too quickly, because it is windy out here. But all things considered, this is just an incredible experience to be on this ship right now. We are so lucky to be here.
The Picton Castle, 179 feet long, 97 feet high.
She was built in England, one of a couple steam fishing trawlers.
The Picton Castle has a new purpose. Second mate Allison Taylor took us on a tour while the ship docked in Greenport Village, New York. She told us how Captain Daniel Moreland bought the Picton Castle in the 90s, restored her, and has been using it as an educational vessel ever since.
Our mission is training in sail, so we sail the ship and maintain the ship as a method to teach people how to be aware, self-awareness and teamwork and all that sort of thing that you might pitch otherwise, but all we have to do is really just sail the ship.
Joining me live now, Julian Peck and Maisie Linsmith, both from Casco Bay High School. You've been on this ship for 12 days now, and you got to steer it. What was that like?
Once you got the hang of it, it was a ton of fun.
But it was a lot of work, right, Maisie?
It was a tremendous amount of work, but at the end it was very memorable and a great experience.
Well, I think you're both needed now to get back to work. They're going to be here giving tours over the next few days because now they're experts, having been at sea for 12 days, right, guys?
Yeah. What an adventure for those kids. That is great. And I can't imagine what kind of an education they've been getting, John, on board the Picton Castle.
Well, this is what's great about this whole event. It really celebrates sail training, and young people like that get exposed to all of the things that they've seen over the last 2 weeks. They've probably got a career at Maine Maritime Academy and the Coast Guard Academy in their future.
If there is a water view in Portland, chances are there are people there today because we have spectators lined up all around the city and around Casco Bay, including many of them who are along the shoreline at Spring Point, and that's where we find CBS 13's Adrian Stein.
There are hundreds of people out here today enjoying the view, people of all ages who've really been here for hours at this point, making sure they had the perfect spot. We are on the hill overlooking the Spring Point Ledge Lighthouse in South Portland on the campus of SMCC. Just a beautiful place to see it for ourselves.
Check out some of the crowd here at Bug Light. We've got really hundreds of people here. There's everyone's got a spot. And this is one of the better spots. They're right out there at the lighthouse. Even some people are right on top of the lighthouse waiting for the ships to come in here.
The state of Maine actually has a schooner that serves as its official schooner. It's the schooner Bowdoin, and it also serves as a training vessel for students from the Maine Maritime Academy. It's a beautiful ship, and CBS 13's Katie Sampson went on board to tell us what the ship was created for. She went to Castine to show us how the Bowdoin is being used today.
When you're learning the ropes,
everybody should take a step aboard a schooner once.
On how to set sail,
she's a fundamental part of the school now.
Look no further than Castine, Maine. And after serving as a charter ship at the Mystic Seaport for many years, the Bowdoin sailed here in 1988. Where students can immerse themselves in her rich history and unprecedented experiences.
And there it is, the schooner Bowdoin live today in the Parade of Sail, passed by us just a few minutes ago. John, bringing back memories for you?
It sure does. She's a great vessel. It's a pride of Maine Maritime Academy's fleet. We do a lot of sail training with it, and it's just a great asset for our students to be able to get that type of hands-on training. There's no stronger wooden vessel that I've ever been associated with. She's 3-inch oak planked on the outside. She's 1.5 inches hard pine on the inside, planking, a double hull, and she's 6x6 double sawn frames. You could drop that boat from 50 feet up and it would be just fine.
She's 21 inches thick, oaken with a double hull, and is designed in such a fashion that if the ice would come in on the side, it would lift her out of the water. That's a fellow by the name of William Hand designed the vessel. And that actually proved true, and sometimes when she was in the Arctic with Macmillan, and the vessel was pinched in ice. Yeah.
Schooner Bowdoin joins many others in our Tall Ships Parade of Sail, and our live coverage continues from Portland Headlight in just a moment.
You know, we were talking about the trainees, the kids on the ships, and John was talking about how such a great experience that is. And just to be able to harness the weather, harness the wind, they're learning a lot out there in a day like today.
And the wind is picking up now. It is a crowded harbor, so this has to be a little bit challenging, especially for some of the bigger schooners out there.
You're watching live coverage of Portland's Parade of Sail 2015 on CBS 13.
Welcome back, everyone, live from Fort Williams, Portland Headlight behind us here. But now we are looking at the Wendamine, I understand, here, and that is one of 2 schooners owned by Portland Schooner Company.
That's right. The Wendamine is nearly 9 stories long. It was launched in 1912, and we are lucky enough to have Portland been chosen as the home port for the Wendamine. Adrian Stein climbed aboard this beautiful classic schooner, and she joins us live with more on that adventure. Adrian?
I got to tell you, Kim, the Wendamine is simply a beauty. And when you go on board, it's hard to believe she almost didn't make it.
Unlike a modern vessel, you actually can feel it move, you can hear it.
The Wendamine slices through the water with a character all its own.
Steady and heartfelt and just sleek and extraordinary, I guess you could say. That it's just amazing to sail on.
It's difficult to believe when you look at her now, but the Wendamine almost didn't make it. Stuck in a mudflat, left to deteriorate for 50 years.
But the previous owner brought her back to life and got her sailing up in Rockland, Maine, and that's where we bought her.
Oh, it sure is such an absolutely beautiful schooner. And we should mention the Wendamine is listed on the National Historic Places list. You know, again, 14 people can spend the weekend on the Wendamine. They do some private charter. So I don't know, Kim, Charlie, what do you think? Maybe a WGME retreat on the Wendamine sometime?
Sign us up. I love that idea, yes. Adrian. And one of them is El Galeon, which is making its way right into Portland Harbor, right along the waterfront. And that's where we find CBS 13's Lexi O'Connor. It's a pretty impressive sight, isn't it, Lexi?
It was down here before when we were just setting up before the parade of sail. It was docked here on the main pier, the main wharf, and now it is coming in. It just passed the mainstay pier. I want to give you a look at it. This is, again, that 16th century El Galeon. It's huge ship. It's from Spain, and it came here from Spain. There was actually, the crew members were on. We were watching them, you know, when they were taking off for the parade of sail. They actually had harnesses on, and it was a big production, even to just get it out of where it was docked here on the main wharf.
All right, Lexi, it looks like a movie set out there.
We were talking about the Oliver Hazard Perry as being a brand new ship, and one of the statistics I was looking at on that, they said that there's 7 miles of rope on that ship, and just to put in perspective for you, that would be like taking a piece of rope and taking it from Fort Gorges, so actually from Fort Williams, where we are right now, and extending it all the way to Hadlock Field or for Fitzpatrick Stadium there. So
that is pretty impressive.
Yeah, just to put into perspective for you.
Now, this is a full-rigged ship, as we've been talking about. That's unusual.
Well, in the tall ship world, there are barks and brigantines and barkentines and all different types of designs, but a full-rigged ship was specific and unique in that it has all of the proper sails to take advantage of all weathers and all conditions.
I can't imagine trying to sail some of these and be involved in a battle at the same time, right?
Yeah, just when they fire cannons off a vessel like that, you can't see for half an hour. Mm-hmm. She's a really, really, truly amazing ship, and it's kind of really an honor to have it come to Portland right after it's finished all that work to get it to where it is.
Yeah. And we have pictures, I believe, of the Picton Castle as she is docking and coming right into Portland Harbor. That's got to be, again, a bit of a challenge, right,
John?
Well,
it's one thing to sail a vessel, and it's another to tie it up. And when that's probably one of the more interesting shows. When these big vessels come in, they're going to be using some assists from some of the local tug companies, or just going under their own power, and that requires a lot of thinking ahead and using the wind and using the current and using your assist boat to get yourself in safely.
There are a lot of eyeballs there, right?
Yeah, and when you take a vessel of the size of the Eagle with the amount of tonnage that it has, it doesn't have to be moving very fast for it to make a hard landing. So it's really fun to watch, and you can see that there's assist boats there. Portland has some really wonderful tug equipment here to get this job done.
And there is CBS 13's Jana Barnella waving at us as the 179-foot bark Picton Castle makes her way into Portland Harbor to try to dock that thing, Jonathan, which is going to be, as we mentioned, a bit of a challenge, but that is just fantastic.
It takes a lot of work, though, to get this huge boat, the Picton Castle, into to dock here at the main wharf. There was actually a tugboat, which you can see is just next to it here, that was actually helping out. So the tugboat was actually helping, I'm told, to keep it from getting too close to the main state pier. So definitely a lot of people, a lot of teamwork here. We were actually told to watch out for throwing ropes as crews were throwing the ropes to try and dock this large boat.
There are a very limited number of these worldwide, and to have, I think, 4 or 5 of these Class A ships come into Portland makes this a spectacular event and a real success. And these are not what we see on a daily basis, and hopefully people will come down tomorrow and walk out on them, really enjoy, get to meet the crews. The crews are interesting. So they've just had a week at sea, and they're going to have wonderful stories to tell as well.
Apparently the Picton Castle is docked. Let's check in with CBS 13's Jana Barnella to see how things are going down along the Portland waterfront.
Kim, we're here. We made it, and I made a new friend. This is Fiji, the Picton Castle's kitty. And Fiji's a little fussy, so we're going to put her down for a second. All the people on the pier saying hello to the Picton Castle as it arrives here. Remember, it's going to be here for the next few days, so please come down and check this out. The 8 Maine students who are on board this ship are going to be giving tours.
What a day it is for the city of Portland and Casco Bay. Let's take a look at the Oliver Hazard Perry as it makes its way into Portland Harbor. Just one of many tall ships that are here today, and many of them are docked right along the waterfront. It is just a spectacular event, and as someone who was here for Op Sail 15 years ago, I am so happy that the tall ships once again have come calling on the Port of Portland.
Well, I think it's the natural beauty of what we have. I actually live out in the Cape Elizabeth area, and so I could actually see them coming into Portland. And so, for us, we are truly blessed to have the tall ships here as a city, and of course we want them to come back, I believe, in another couple of years. It's amazing because I used to went on the USS Constitution in Boston. I think when people go aboard these ships, they'll notice how small people were back in the day when these ships were actually made, because the ceilings are low and the berths and everything else. So it's an amazing experience.
It's going to be so nice just to travel downtown and see those tall rigs just overlooking the landscape, reminiscent of really Portland's history and legacy as a great maritime leader.
It looked like hundreds of years ago, and it's just great to see the city of Portland be able to celebrate this great asset they have of this huge port, bringing in these vessels from all over the world and having people to get a chance to get aboard.
Jonathan Worth from Maine Maritime Academy, thank you so much for joining us today. And
this was fun. Thank you for having me.
Your unique perspective and knowledge. And Charlie, great job on the weather.
Yeah, well, we worked out this time around. The showers moved out, and most of the weekend looks okay as well. It gets a little warmer and muggy tomorrow. That's it.
All right. Well, it has been a spectacular afternoon. We certainly hope you have enjoyed it. We want to thank everyone for joining us for Portland's Parade of Sail. For Charlie Lopresti, Jonathan Worth, I'm Kim Block. Have a great afternoon, everyone.